Fishing for speckled trout in the surrounding waters of Grand Isle. Speckled trout. This fish is considered the trout of the sea, even though it isn't even a member of the trout family. Yes, that's right, the sea or speckled trout is not a member of the same family as the rainbow trout. The speckled trout is a member of the croaker family of fish. Therefore, the strategies for catching them are different as well. The following lists several great tips that will help to increase your success out on the water. The number one tip for catching this species of fish is to cast near structure. The only exception to this is in the spring and summer. Speckled trout tend to school along the beach of Grand Isle. Speckled sea trout, especially big ones, like to hang out around structure. Drop-offs, various clam beds, and depressions are great places to start a fishing trip. With a little luck, these places will not only produce a few fish, but also some big ones. The next tip for catching sea trout is to be quiet. It is important to move and make as little noise as possible when approaching an area that may hold some of these fish. Even the smallest of sounds can spook them and spoil the spot. During mid-spring through the summer months, fishing along the beach is best. From mid-fall to mid-spring, fishing the inshore waters is best. Bigger fishes are usually caught during late nights. Bigger structures are needed for bigger fishes. You may find them near sandbars, oyster beds, depressions, etc. Areas where you can often find big trout are underneath the bridges and docks or fallen trees and docked boats. If they will see you, they will most probably get scared and go away, so you should recognize them first before they spot you. Boats would scare the speckled trout off, so it is advisable to catch them while wading. Bigger baits are required for bigger trout. Shrimp are good live baits for catching large trout because they are able to stay alive in long periods even while in hooks. Speckled trout really like the soft plastic jigs. The color doesn't really matter, just try a few and see which ones work best. Any shrimp-like or fish-like plastic bait will do fine with a medium-sized jig head. Besides soft plastics, mirror lures work excellent as well for catching speckled trout. Note that Mirror Lures is a company that makes speckled trout fishing lures or lures that sea trout will bite. They make several plugs that work really well. Many anglers say, the white plus with a red colored head work the best. Color is definitely the key factor. You will need about 6 different color patterns to suit the various water conditions. If you are fishing clear waters, blue or green, use a colorful bait such as reds and amber. In slightly off-color water, sandy green or iced tea, limey hues and pearl work well. In dirty or stained water, throw dark colors such as morning glory black with metal flake and red shad dark red and black mix. Of course there are many variations of these baits as well, and many baits have a chartreuse or fire tail to accent the color and action. To work these baits properly, I would suggest a 6-foot light action rod with a reel suitable for 150 yards of 12-pound line. Tie a 12-inch leader of 20-pound line to a number 12 barrel swivel to prevent line twist. Connect your jig head with a loop knot to allow more action. Cast your line out and retrieve it back by bumping the lure 1 to 3 times along the bottom and reeling in the slack. Be sure to keep tension on the lure as you reach the top of your retrieve, as many times the fish will strike as the lure is falling. Vary your retrieve style and speed until you can find what works best. Use these different approaches to find and catch more fish, and don't forget to try different techniques and change your retrieve style until you find what works the best for you. Learning the secret to night fishing. The secret to night fishing in the evening can either be a blindness trip into the darkness, hoping you don't lose anything, or even worst, get lost, or with a little pre-organizing and planning you can be out there having a blast of a time catching fish after fish and making the memories as a fun event. Don't forget to bring a flashlight or lantern. Bringing a spare is always good. Many anglers who fish at night use glow-in-the-dark artificial lures. The ones they prefer either glow red or green. I recommend that you use both. Be sure to bring liquid refreshments. Night fishing is usually done while you're sitting on or standing on the bank or anchored in a boat. For some reason this makes for a thirsty angler. It more than likely has to do with the downtime, waiting in anticipation for a fish to bite. I also recommend bringing a basic first aid kit with you. It will come in handy if you have a mishap. The mosquitoes can become pretty bad when night fishing, especially in the summer, right after the sun goes down. Lighting mosquito incense can make the situation much more tolerable. There are few things worse on this planet than getting swarmed by mosquitoes and having absolutely no recourse. So, be sure to bring a can of mosquito repellent. Cutters or deep woods are far the most common mosquito repellents used by anglers fishing at night. Be sure to organize your tackle box before you go. There are few things worse than having to dig through your tackle box for something you need when it's the middle of the night. This one will save you a ton of aggravation. Although this seems overly simplistic, it will make for a much better night fishing experience. How to use the moon when fishing. Do you know how to use the moon when fishing? This may seem like a strange question, but in reality the moon has a lot to do with your fishing success. I used to think this was a bunch of bunk, but through experience I've learned that maximizing my fishing time is very important. One of the best ways to maximize your fishing time is to fish when the fish are the most active, and knowing a little about what phase the moon is in accomplishes this. How to use the moon when fishing is a lot easier than you might think. Honestly, what could be easier than simply spending more time fishing when the moon is in certain phases? Not much, and the results can be amazing. It's a fact that fish are more active during certain moon phases, and when fish are more active, what happens? You get more bites. During certain phases of the moon, that happen twice in most months and last for 2 to 3 days at a time, you will get more bites than at any other time of the month. I know this is true from experience. Have you ever had one of those amazing fishing days where it seemed like no matter what you did you caught fish? Like the stars had aligned to give you an incredible day of fishing? Well, this more than likely had to do with the forces of Mother Nature, the moon, more than you as an angler. So, how exactly do you find out the information you need to know how to use the moon when fishing? Simple. You can simply search the internet and you'll find enough information. Using the moon when fishing isn't rocket science. It's really quite simple. The bottom line is that if you fish, using the moon is to your advantage. This is the easiest thing in the world to do, and pays big dividends by 2 to 1, by simply using the moon when fishing, just like you use your bait and tackle box.